Welcome to Adoption Utah. Here we share stories and practical advice from those who understand adoption in Utah. I'm Donna Pope, your host. We're super excited to be here with Lynea. Lynea is one of the foremost voices in the adoption community to represent birth parents. And Lynea, we're just going to start right out by letting you tell us your story.
Thank you, and thanks for inviting me. I am a birth mother of 35 years. I placed my daughter privately and domestically. It was a very difficult decision, very much under a lot of scrutiny. Of course, that was 35 years ago. And so there was a lot of stigma that kind of came with birth mothers and choosing adoption in addition to that. So throughout the years, one of the things that I had found with my story was that I really didn't have a lot of support in the sense of how to maintain an open adoption. It was the time it was semi-open, and now I would say it was not even semi-open. But what little bit of information I did have and what little bit I did actually carried me through a lot of years. And then through the process of actually reuniting and under the duress of why they wanted to reunite, I completely went in it with no expectation other than the thrill of meeting her and to be a part of their family, even more so than what I was. And then throughout the years, I had found out way more than I bargained for. It was kind of opening Pandora's box. You just never know what you're going to get out of it. And it was a process I had to kind of learn. I had to learn how to, what is this relationship going to look like? What is the adopted parents and I's relationship going to be? And how do I muster all these feelings that I thought I had gone through? And I did go to counseling about 6 years post placement. And it's just a constant layer of processes that you have to go through as a birth mother, but that's life in general, right? And so it was just a surreal feeling. And what I found that a lot of people didn't have experience in was all those ups and downs of what adoption is and what that relationship looks like. And then how does that make me feel? And how do I deal with these emotions? For instance, when I was pregnant with my son, I was mourning the loss of my daughter while pregnant with my son. And no one could really understand what that meant. And so I didn't have that collaborative group of women of saying, hey, did you go through this too? Did you experience these things? And so it was very isolating, and it was very hard to manage these emotions and try to reach out for help and support. And so throughout the years when I moved back into Utah, I was asked to be part of Utah Adoption Council. And that was eye-opening because I got to meet everybody in adoption and what adoption looked like. And it also helped me learn how to have my voice in expressing my concerns as a birth mother in post-placement care and support and what we need and what that expectation is. And it's still in that learning process. But I just want birth mothers to see that there can be a healthy part of adoption and with the relationship versus the ugliness I think that we're putting out there as a stigma as birth mothers and reunification. So
let me just back up just a little bit. So when you first placed your child for adoption, a little boy, little girl? A little girl. And you had a ongoing relationship with the adoptive family, right?
Yes.
But you just managed it on your own, just emailing and stuff back and forth?
That really dates me because emailing was still.
It wasn't even emailing. You sent letters.
No, let's see. No, we had phone conversations. The agreement was they would send me a picture and a letter every year around her birthday. And then every year for their Christmas, I would send her a gift and the family a gift. And it was kind of navigated through the attorney that they went through. So, and it always got lost. There was always a new secretary that had no idea what they were doing. So something always got lost. Something got displaced in some way, shape, or form. So we finally just decided to kind of give that personal information. But what's funny is at that time, they don't have the securities like they do now. So it wasn't hard to find out their personal information. I just respected their space until they were willing to open more of that door. But yeah.
And I know, and we don't necessarily need to go into some of the challenges. I'm aware of some of the challenges of that relationship. Suffice it to say, there are always challenges.
Always. There will always be challenges. I mean, that's the same thing with a marriage and friendships, and there's always going to be challenges, and there are going to be ups and downs, and you may grow into them and you may grow out of them.
For sure. And so as you kind of went through that, then you got to be known as a voice for birth moms, and you joined the Utah Adoption Council and started to let your voice be heard. Tell them a little bit about Life After Placement.
So I started out with Life After Placement. It was always a thought. And it was actually through, which is so funny, it was an adoptive mother actually with Utah Adoption Council that talked to me later, because I kept advocating for what are we doing for birth mothers? Where's the support groups for birth mothers? And this woman kind of in a snide way said, well, it's always easier to do it yourself than expect others to do it. And I thought, ooh, it was like a challenge, I guess, because I hated that so bad. And so it was trying to find the key components of people. Who do I support and who helps me, and what that meant. And I definitely kind of had a lot of bumps and bruises as to who those people were, from birth mothers to adoptive parents to adoptees. And it eventually came down to about 4 of us. And really, it did come at a lot of pain for about 2 years. But it did come about, and we were, and we still are 501c3 and do support groups, and we're growing, and we're definitely learning a lot.
Now, one of the most amazing things you guys do each year is the Birth Mom Dinner. Tell us a little bit about how that's gone.
So that kind of came out the same way as coming up with Life After Placement. I had a birth mother who we had talked about another group that was putting on a Birth Mother's Day event, and she had asked me a little bit about it, and I kind of told her a little bit about it, and she's like, listen, I'm not going to come out and spend my day before Mother's Day to make my own sandwich and to do this whole junket type kind of thing. Not that it was meant to be bad, but she says, I want it to be worth my time and my while. Either that, I'm going to IHOP that my son's going to take me to with a Cheerio necklace. And I thought, she's got a point. You've got to step up and make it worthwhile. So at first we started out with Joseph Smith Memorial. They have phenomenal, beautiful, beautiful buildings, and the food's phenomenally there too. And the ambiance was so crucial. And I wanted these women to be served a 3-course meal, because a lot of these women have never had that before. And so, I mean, I guess the closest to a 3-course meal is something you can get at Applebee's or something, but nothing quite this degree of this being serenaded by live music, and to be honored, and to have somebody encouraging them, and to honor them, and to meet other birth mothers and finding a safe place. And then to walk out and see the fear that they come into, and then the happiness they walk out with, and to still hear about it, it still fills me full of joy of knowing, okay, if it helps one birth mother, I've succeeded in this. And it's just grown, I think now going on 8 years, and it gets bigger and bigger, but it's different every year. And I love that.
I'm going to read the legislative intent from the Utah law, because I love it. It says, an unmarried birth mother faced with the responsibility of making crucial decisions about the future of a newborn child is entitled to privacy and has the right to make timely and appropriate decisions regarding her future and the future of the child, and is entitled to insurance regarding the permanency of the adoption placement. Do you agree with that?
Do I think there's insurances that? No, I don't.
Well, do you think she should be entitled to it?
I do think that she should be entitled to that. She has that right, and she should be able to have that right just as many as we all have rights. So why would we want to take that away from her?
And so if you look at one of the challenges that we're seeing right now is sort of going back to this perception of a birth mom that I find just immensely challenging. And that's that she doesn't know her own mind. That without a doubt, she's in a difficult situation. Without a doubt, she's in a vulnerable situation. Without a doubt, she's struggling with the decision. But do you think that in that crucial, vulnerable position, she can know her own mind?
I absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you think about it. I mean, a death is heart wrenching and it's excruciating. To a divorce. I mean, there's so many, even a death of a child. I mean, you have to find a way to grapple with the reality and how to find a way to move forward. And sometimes it's second by second, moment by moment. It just depends on that person. But she has that right, and she has that ability to make what's best for her. So yes.
And we often will say that we want to act in the best interest of the child. Here's my struggle. Does anyone know the best interest of that child better than the mom?
No, no. And I think that's where that misconception comes around. I think that it's hard for any woman who has a child to imagine placing that child in someone else's arms and to have that trust and knowing in her heart this is the right choice for this child. It's heart-wrenching, but I think it's very real to the fact that she knows what she's getting herself into. I mean, realistically, you don't go into this half-heartedly and think, again, I'm just going to magically just, get pregnant and place this baby for adoption. I mean, it's not how it works.
Lynea, will you address on that note with a birth mom being able to actually make what she feels is the right decision for her child, and for lack of better words, and then be forced to be landlocked within the state where her current address is and her current house is, to say, because you live here, you cannot look any further than the state in which you live to find the right home, the right placement, the right family.
I'm gonna spread that question out just a little bit more, Lorraine. What option should be given to this woman as she's struggling with this decision?
Well, she should have every option given to her. I mean, she has the right to make that choice. I mean, that's like telling her, well, you can't go into the next city to a different hospital, but that's where my OBGYN is, or I want to pick a doctor, or I want whatever that may be. That's taking any woman's rights away from her. So why wouldn't you offer that to her? Why would anybody tell her what she should or should not do? Does that make sense? I mean, if she wants to have a home birth, she should have a home birth. That's her right. That's her choice and decision. If she wants to go to the hospital, have herself induced because she just can't handle another week of it, and the baby's fine, and the doctor and them come up with the agreement, this is in the best interest for you, let's move forward. But that's her right, and that's her choice and decision. For anybody to tell her what she can and cannot do, I think you're taking her rights away. You're taking her rights away. And not being able to go to a different state, because it is such a sacred decision that you have to make. And a lot of times you need time away from your family, or maybe the family, you just don't want them to know because you just can't bear anybody discouraging you from a decision that's already difficult for you to process in the first place. And a lot of times these women they don't have anything. They have nothing more to give this child other than the best life it can by choosing adoption. But it's still her right.
So there has been complaints that, and Lorraine, you and I are both going to react to this, but maybe not nearly as much as Lynea is going to react to it. There have been complaints that these women are somehow coerced or manipulated or in some way tricked into receiving help in Utah, or drug here, or even the term trafficked here has been used, and that they don't know what they're doing.
Well, I would call BS on that one. I mean, you cannot tell me she doesn't make that decision. I mean, that's basically saying you're stupid, basically. I mean, and that you're not capable of making a decision for yourself. That's an actual slam, I think. as a birth mother, that's a slam to go in there thinking you don't know what you're doing. You're being coerced or you're being trafficked. No, I have a hard time with that one. Because that's like telling me I was stupid when I made my choice and decision. So,
Yeah. So, Lorraine, do you have any thoughts on that?
I have some thoughts, and maybe, and I guess as I pinpoint and connect the dots to Linea's point, women should and hopefully can continue to look for what's best for them. And a pregnancy doesn't mean they're not thinking well. Ultimately, we do know in any given scenario, pregnant or not pregnant, people think better when they have their basic needs met. If they can see a doctor, if they can have a roof over their head, if they can have food, shelter, clothing, they can always make a better decision. And maybe that is adoption, maybe it is parenting. And there's so many good things for ages and ages and ages in this country and in the world where adoption is absolutely a terrific option. When foster care is looking to place children for adoption, they don't remain within the state in which the child lives. They're looking all over this country to find the right family or the right kinship, and they'd be at a dead end if they were landlocked into the state where that child was currently living. And birth parents and birth mothers, they get the same courtesy and the same respect to find where the support is and where they feel like they should be. I have a lot of opinions on that because of you and I both. We've worked with so many women that have been able to move forward in life because of the work that has happened during an adoption process.
When I first started with Utah Adoption, and one of the things I got to be a part of is changing some of the laws that were so inadequate at the time, and updating what those laws are and putting the exact wording in. And it was exhausting because I came home every day and I thought how insane and how awesome that is, that what the laws were back then to what they are today, and how grateful that I was to not only be a part of that. There was another birth mother that was also there to help with the wording and in changing some of the laws that really needed to be changed because they were old and inadequate. So, if there's something that needs to be changed, I think we have to, that's just life. We're always evolving and we're always changing. And I think if there's something that needs to be done legislation wise, then ask the ones who need it the most. You guys are being told what requirements are of you to maintain your licensing, right? But in the end, who's asking birth mothers what they want? What was missing in their adoption? What could we have done better as an agency? What could you have done better? What more could have been offered? And I get this all the time, and the reality of it is it still comes down to I did the best thing I could for the situation that I had. And I don't think that people realize that being a part of those laws and how they word it was out of respect to any expected mother who was going to come into adoption. And I remember every day I think it went on for like 2 months, that we were going through every part of the law. And I thought that wording is so important. And you can only do so much in changing the laws, right? But the regulations to those laws are what's crucial too. And like you read that part of what the birth mother's entitled to. I was a part of that. I was a part of that because it should be respected, and she should have that right and that capability. So we're going to take that off the plate and tell her what she should or should not think or feel or do. So again, let's come back to where are we asking these birth mothers? And you can't, and this is horrible to say, and I can say this being 35 years, the laws of what it was when I placed versus what it is today. I mean, it's leaps and bounds amazingly beautiful compared to what it is. Do I think there's always improvement? Of course there can be. But do I think we should take that away from birth mothers? We're still not asking the right question of how do other birth mothers feel? What rights do they have? And what do they think the agencies maybe need to change? Because so far I haven't heard that, so.
Well, that's the conversation we're going to be having, that we're having. Lynea, thank you so much for this. Any final words you'd want to give to us?
Just, love, lots of love, and just respect that I think that you ladies have worked really, really hard for. And, being a part of you guys in Utah Adoption Council, I think it's been 10 or 11 years now I've been in this. And the relationships I've had with each and every one of you, the love I see that's there for birth mothers, is just astounding. And even if there's something that's amiss, I never hesitate in calling anybody in any agency to the situation that may come up and arise, and how do we make this better? And I love the willingness that's been involved. And I think that's what we're missing, is the camaraderie of that professionalism of asking that question. What's the best interest for all of us to do what's right for birth mothers, and hearing their voices. So thank you.
All right. Talk to y'all later.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Adoption Utah. I'm Donna Pope. Please visit adoptionutah.org to sign up for our newsletter and find caring experts who can help you with your adoption journey.